tell you what it is. It was the desires of the natural heart, the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. And God wasn't within 1,000 miles of it.
Yes, sir.
Learn your heart. If you'll learn that lesson tonight, you're going to get way down the road. For alliterated point number 2, there's a woman in the Bible, 1 Samuel chapter 1, by the name of Hannah. And in chapter 1, verse number 8, the Bible said Hannah had a grieved heart. We're all familiar with Hannah and her need for a man child. I went back there and read that this morning while I waited for my wife. And Hannah said she was grieved in her heart. We know her going to the temple, and Eli was about as spiritual as some of these televangelists. Her lips moved, but he couldn't hear anything. I'm familiar with that. Are you listening to me? She was grieved in her heart. Her heart's desire to have a man child. Would you agree with that, you Bible scholar? Her heart's desire, preacher, was to have a man child. God agreed with that. God granted her her heart's desire. She prayed. Here's what she said. I like this point. I hope you'll get it. God granted her her heart's desire. You know what Hannah said? If you'll give me this boy, this man child, I'll lend him to you the rest of his life, all of his days. It says all of his days and the rest of his life, both in that chapter. Here it is. Listen. Would you listen? What you're trying to acquire. What you're trying to acquire. Here's what God's supposed to be about this morning. What you're trying to acquire. What would you do with it if He granted it?
That's good. That's real good.
If He granted your heart's desire that you have tonight, what would you do with it? My heart's desire was to raise a family for Jesus. We dedicated them to the Lord. Everything else we ever had or ever hoped to have or whatever, we dedicated it all. A lot of people around here have done that. We've got life, we walk, we live that way. But listen, what would you do with the desire that you have if God granted it? Hannah said, if you'll give me my desire, I'll give it back to you. Some of you young men praying to be rich.
Right.
Money won't hurt you. Money's good. It answers all things. Money talks. Mine says goodbye when you start paying bills. I'm not looking for an offering, but you ever had one of those weeds, Brother Wells? A little old car overheated and the radiator blew up. The freezer went out. My wife had to have a root canal. I don't know what's going to happen on the way home. But if a fig tree don't bud, I'm going to holler glory anyway. I got my heart's desire. It all belongs to Him. I already lit to Him. I'm winding down. God spoke to me today and said, ask them, what would they do? If I granted their heart's desire, what would they do?
That's good.
If He let you marry old tall, dark, and handsome, what would you do with it? Stay out of church on Sunday night with Him? Watch the Braves? I talked to a fella here a while back. And he said, she's just trying to obey her husband. She might be, but if I was her and married to him, bless God, he'd follow me to church or he'd stay home by himself.
Yes, sir.
You listen to me? What would you do? Take this home with you. What would you do if God granted you your heart's desire? What would you do? Some of you boys want to marry that gal that's looked like she's been poured and melted and poured into a sack dress.